Hey there, it's Charlie from the blog Feeding Our Flamingos. In this video, I want to share with you some meal ideas you can make and freeze for the new mom in your life. I recently made all the meals I'm about to share for some family friends who had a baby back in May. I was hoping to get the food made all on the same day and take it to them before the baby arrived, but I ended up making each meal one at a time and finally got it all to them about 5 weeks after baby was born. Honestly, I think the best time for a new mom to have a few freezer meals at the ready is the six week mark anyway, because that's about the time when most babies tend to cry a lot in the evening hours. I do want to mention that the meals I'm sharing today are not gluten-free, nor dairy-free, nor sugar-free. I tend to cook that way for my own family, but the family I was taking these meals to eats gluten, dairy, and sugar. So I made the calzones first. I make pizza a lot, or at least I used to make pizza a lot. And for these calzones, I used my favorite pizza dough recipe. It has oregano and minced garlic, and it just tastes like Italy. Funny thing, my husband is from Argentina and speaks Spanish. For the life of me, I cannot say calzones like we would say here in the United States. It always comes out calzones. It actually translates to underwear in Spanish, and in Italian I think it's pants or something like that. The calzone recipe called for 2 pounds of pizza dough, and the recipe I have made just a bit more than that. For all these meals, I made enough for our friends and for my own family to eat. Once the dough was made and rising, I moved on to making the sauce. I decided to try a new sauce recipe that looked pretty simple and tasty, but nope. The calzones just didn't taste as good as my pizza, and I know it was because the sauce was different. I think I'm just going to stick with my tried and true recipe next time. After I had the dough and sauce prepped, I just needed to get everything for the filling prepared before I could assemble the calzones. I shredded mozzarella and Parmesan cheese and got out the pepperoni, salami, and ricotta cheese. Finally, it was time to make the calzones. I took the dough and divided it into 12 balls. Then I took one ball at a time, rolled it out, and added the sauce, ricotta cheese, mozzarella cheese, pepperoni, and salami. Then I folded one side over the other and made a pretty little edge and added it to the baking sheet. In each calzone, I made a slit with a knife and then brushed oil over the dough and added Parmesan cheese on top and then baked them. When we eat the calzones, we like to dip them in extra sauce, so if you're taking these to a new mom, just be sure to remember some extra sauce that they can serve with it. To freeze the calzones, all you have to do is let them cool, put into labeled freezer bags, and then put them into the freezer. To thaw the calzones, you can get them out of the freezer several hours before you want to eat them, and then reheat in the microwave or oven just until they are warm enough for your liking. Or if you're wanting them straight out of the freezer, just reheat in the microwave or oven just for a longer period of time. So the next freezer meal I made was granola. Okay, so granola isn't a quote-unquote meal per se, but it is great to have on hand if you like to eat yogurt parfaits for breakfast or as a snack. My husband also likes to just snack on granola straight from the bag. If you've seen my breakfast meal prep video, you've already seen this granola recipe. It's super basic and simple, but that's why I love it. I tend to gravitate towards foods that are simple because they are often the tastiest. Besides that, they're just easier. I followed the recipe as is, and it made 5 quart-sized bags of granola. I put about 3 cups of granola in each bag, so it made about 15 cups. The next freezer meal I made was the shredded beef. I bought 2 chuck roasts from Sam's Club and cooked them one at a time in the Instant Pot. Each chuck roast was somewhere between 2.5 and 3 pounds. I used a different recipe for each chuck roast each time I made the chuck roast, and I found that I liked the second recipe better, so that's the one I'll share with you. Now don't blink or you might miss the ingredient list. All you'll need is salt and beef broth. I don't have a slow cooker because it broke many years ago, and I just use my Instant Pot as a slow cooker occasionally. I don't like it as a slow cooker because it works much better as a pressure cooker, but it does work in a pinch. To cook the shredded beef, I put my Instant Pot on the slow cooker setting on low for 6 hours. When it was done, I let it cool for a while, then I took it out and I put it on a cutting board. I removed a lot of the fat, even though that's arguably the most delicious part, and then I shredded the roast. It ended up making 1 pound and 3 ounces or so, which is enough for one meal for a family of 6. You'll want to keep some of the juice from the pot and put it into your freezer bag before you freeze it. That way when you reheat it, you can warm it up in its own juices, so you don't have dry shredded beef on your hands. You can use the shredded beef for many different meals, including tacos, nachos, loaded salad, and beef sandwiches. You can just add spices when you reheat for the different meals that you're making. Alright, now we're on to the final freezer meal that I made. The beef and bean burritos. I do have to say, this meal can be kind of time consuming. It's actually not bad if you make each component as you have time over a time period of a day or two. You can probably prep everything in about an hour, but if you don't have that much time, just do one thing at a time and put the burritos together when everything has been prepared. And typically, when I talk about how much time something takes, you can take it with a grain of salt, because I'm just one person on the internet who has made this meal. You might cook much faster or maybe much slower than I do. You will need to prepare rice, a filling for the burritos, and then shred cheese if you buy it in blocks like I do. I let my 10-year-old daughter assemble the burritos because she was really excited to do it. If I wasn't filming, I could have walked away and came back 20 minutes later to a stack of burritos. And that's why I say teach your kids, and especially allow your kids to cook if they're enthusiastic about it. This daughter has been tagging along with me in the kitchen since she was 2. At first, I only allowed her to help me when I wasn't in a hurry. But now that she's quite capable at 10 years old, she can do some of the more time-consuming things like chopping, browning, and assembling, and it's making my life in the kitchen so much easier. It did take me more than a week to finally have all these meals done and in the freezer. But once I did, I was ready to take these meals to my friend with the new baby. I made a little instruction sheet so I could give that to her as a reference for each of the meals. My friend has kids who are capable of helping out in the kitchen, so I wanted them to be able to get these meals out of the freezer and reheat or make the meals so that their mom wouldn't have to lift a finger. Well, I hope you've been inspired to help a new mom in your life. Thanks for watching and have a blessed day.